Good afternoon, sir. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Dipankar Choudhary.
Yes, sir.
Please sit down. Sit down. Your interview, you have opted for English, yeah.
Yes, sir.
Presently, are you employed anywhere?
No, sir.
Because you did your BTech in 2015. So what have you been doing for these 5-6 years?
So 2015, initially after I completed my BTech, I started working in a company. Although I was not confirmed in the organization, I left at the training phase. And 2016, for the last 2.5 years, I have been in the preparation phase.
You said that you took part in some assessment for Indian schools conducted by University of New South Wales.
Yes, sir. That is the official name for Mathematics Olympiad they conduct internationally.
Okay. Where is this New South Wales?
So it's a state in Australia.
Australia. Which part of Australia?
Southern part of Australia, I think.
Is it sure? No.
So I'm not very sure about this.
Recently, I read in the newspaper that Australia has been facing a heat wave.
Yes,
The
sir.
temperature going above 40 degrees. What could be the reason for that?
So heat wave is the southern hemisphere is experiencing summer at this time of the year, and heat wave is a phenomenon wherein there is a continuous high pressure, so the wind cannot flow. The wind is trapped there, and the temperature keeps on rising day after day.
So why it has developed?
So the southern hemisphere is as of now tilted towards the sun, so they are experiencing summer.
No, summer is all right. Normal summer is all right, but there is specific heat wave in which some people have died also.
So I think it can be, I don't know the exact reasons, but climate change is the bigger factor involved here.
No, if you don't know, please say.
Yes, sir.
You had taken public administration
Yes, sir.
as your subject for the civil services exam. Can you tell me about some of the theorists who have propounded certain theories about public administration?
So we have many, Taylor, Mary Parker Foley, Henry Fayol,
और आगे का बताइए।
Max Weber. Recently, people like Robert B. Denhart. We had public choice theorists like New Public Management, Osborne and Gabler. These are some of the.
Did we have any study by any of these people about Indian administration, public administration in India?
Sir, I don't think they have written about India. The history of Indian administration, Ramesh Kyaro.
Not in most history. Some committee or some group which has suggested about how to improve bureaucracy.
Yes, sir, we have plenty. We had a first Administrative Reforms Commission, and then.
Leave Reforms Commission. One of these well-known figures which you have named, one of them.
Sir, Appleby was one of the administrations.
When did you do any study?
When Pandit Nehru was the Prime Minister of India, I think that would be early 1950s.
What did he suggest?
So he suggested the overhauling of the entire Secretariat administration. Work and management study is one of his unique contributions in Indian administration, and he was very critical of the role of the CAG. He had written vociferously against the role played by CAG, activist role played by CAG.
Why?
So he used to think that CAG is just a glorified accountant. He does not understand the ground realities of administration. He becomes too critical of administrative works, and that essentially leads to policy paralysis.
Dipankar, you belong to Jharkhand.
Yes, sir.
And near about Netarhat.
Yes, sir.
Netarhat used to be one of the finest schools of not only combined Bihar and Jharkhand, but India. Why it has a decline? What are the reasons of its slow decline now?
Sir, I am not very sure of the Netarhat school. I can, sir, the Navodaya Vidyalaya, are you?
I'm talking about Netarhat.
Sir, I'm not very sure
I'm
about
not
that.
sure.
Yes, sir.
What is happening in Pakistan? The Supreme Court of Pakistan instructed the central government and potential government as well to restrain yourself.
So there have
do the
been.
needful.
So there have been two situations. One is related to the blasphemy case of Asia Bibi, and the second is the army has been reined in. The Supreme Court has instructed the army to not interfere into the day-to-day activities of governance.
So is it going to bring result? Is it going to change the political system in Pakistan?
Pakistani governance system, what is known as the deep state of Pakistan. It's also been said in popular media that the present Prime Minister is a hand-picked candidate of army. So I don't think mere reprimand by the Supreme Court will change army's opinions about how a country should be run.
How can India contribute in strengthening?
In strengthening democracy in Pakistan. So India needs to take this issue at international forum, tell other countries how democracy is being subverted by non-state actors as well as non-democratic institutions in Pakistan. The international pressure itself and the pressure of bad opinion itself will change internal changes and improvements in Pakistan.
There are different kind of terrorist organizations which exist in Pakistan.
Yes, sir.
One is ISIS, another is Al-Qaeda, Tariq-e-Sharif, and there are many.
Yes, sir.
What is the basic difference between IS and other terrorist organizations?
So the Islamic State wants a Islamic Caliphate, very radical Wahhabi Islamist version. It is against the government of all sorts. It wants the Islamic Caliphate, strict implementation of Sharia law.
Okay.
The
Any
other, yes, sir.
Any other difference? Basic difference?
So the Islamic State is not involved in the issues of Kashmir as such. It has been making comments, but the way Jamaat Dawa or Hafiz Saeed is involved in destabilizing India from Pakistani soil. And a very important difference I would want to mention is that these terrorist organizations have been utilized by the Pakistani army as non-state actors. ISIS does not have this background.
There is one more difference. ISIS has a territory as well, which other terrorist organizations do not have.
Yes, sir. Except for Taliban, I could say.
Taliban, yes.
Yes,
Mr. Dipankar, your father was in civil service. You have written IAS, IFS, IPS, IRS, etc.
Sir,
What
that
does
is,
it mean?
sir, I have not filled that. That is pre-filled by the UPSC.
Pre-filled?
Yes, sir. They ask me the occupation, and the moment I say All India Service, they fill all of these automatically.
Oh, I see, automatically.
Yes, sir.
But I have not seen it any others candidates from. Anyway, you have a record that you have been a student of mathematics.
Yes, sir.
In the DPS, your percentage of marks was a little low, 81.
Yes, sir.
What was the reason?
So I was going through a very bad phase of bad health. During 2010, I had been jaundiced and tuberculosis simultaneously.
And your BTech was of 5 years.
No, sir, 4 years, 2011 and 2015.
Year of passing 12th is 2010.
Yes, sir.
BTech is 2015
Yes, sir.
from Delhi Technological University. So over a period of 5 years.
So 2010, I did not enter college. Like I said, I was in a very
I see. Okay, so you had.
I entered in 2011.
Okay. So okay. Let's say since you are a student of economics as well as mathematics, you must be knowing about regressions.
Yes, sir.
You must be doing the time series data that has been given to you.
Regressions, yes, sir.
And if you want to go for projections,
Yes, sir.
and if there are dips of let's say 20 years time series data, okay, and after every 3 years, 4 years, there is a huge dips, not a cycle, it's not a trend like this,
Yes, sir.
then what kind of regression analysis you will adopt?
So if there are dips, then it cannot be a linear regression. I would say a degree 3 curve, because it has 2 dips, depending on the kind of dips, is more suitable for that. A degree 4 curve can also be used depending the kind of data, but we have various test of fit. There are tests to see how a curve.
Distributed lags.
Yes, sir. So I would say a degree 3 curve would represent that better. A curve of the form ax cube plus bx square plus cx plus t.
You know about this total factor productivity?
No, sir, I am not aware of the.
You don't know about this?
No, sir.
Okay, we have somewhere even in our policies and all that, this is being used. The TFP of India is lower than that of China.
you are a student of economics, you must be knowing about this. The factor of production, what are the factor of productions?
So land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship.
So the productivity of all these factors put together.
There is a productivity function, production function as we know it. It's an exponential.
What is that called? Production function. Can you name that person?
Yes, yes. So I cannot recall the name exactly right now.
Oh, this Cobb Douglas. Anyway,
Yes.
so okay. You have been saying listening to music. What music?
So all kinds, Western rock, metal,
Western classical
ghazal.
music. Can you name the symphonies of Beethoven, which is the most famous?
Seven Seasons is one of his very famous symphonies, and so they are numerically numbered. 7th Symphony, 8th Symphony. I'm not very comfortable with the classical side of Western music.
Okay. Okay. Since you are from Hazaribagh, why Hazaribagh is so famous for?
So Hazaribagh is a mineral-rich state, mineral-rich district, and it is also a national park, so a tourist center also, and it's rather infamous for Naxalism. It's a red corridor district. So these are the three factors why people know
What's the
Hazaribagh.
mainstay of Jharkhand, so far the economy is concerned?
So right now it is heavy industries and mines and minerals. These two are the biggest contributors.
Okay. We have been saying about this public choice,
Yes,
public
sir.
administrations. Can you tell me the basic difference between a public choice and public finance?
So a public choice basically is a method to reorganize the government, as in it aims at privatization, decentralization, involvement of private sectors, and give choice to people. We have, like for instance, we have utility curves in economics. So it gives the power in the hand of the people that.
Who propounded this theory?
So there is no one person. People like Gordon Tullock, Niskanen, these are some of the well-known names for public choice. So it assumes that people are utility maximizers. They can choose the best services for them. Public finance is simply how the government chooses to finance itself, whether by borrowing or issuing bonds is basically borrowing, the taxation system, borrowing from abroad, from RBI. These come under the edges of public finance.
Have you heard the name of Buchanan?
Buchanan,
Musgrave?
yes sir, he is also a public choice theorist.
And Musgrave?
No sir, I have not heard his name.
Mr. Choudhary,
Yes sir.
climate change, people, there are two opinions, One, they are saying it's a natural phenomena, it happens, and, but others are saying that it is anthropogenic.
Yes sir.
So which view you will go with?
So I will go with anthropogenic because the scientific evidence is overwhelming. It is true that climate change can happen due to natural phenomena, but the scientific community has proven beyond doubt that this time it is man-made.
So how it is affecting the whole globe? What are the major, why, every country is talking about it, and we are talking about international cooperation, and
Yes.
this kind of thing. Because this is one thing on which everybody, almost
Yes, sir, most of the
the countries, they are saying that yes, this is an important issue.
So the biggest challenges I would say is climate change will disrupt food production. That's the first biggest challenge. Rise in seawater level can submerge many important commercial cities. We have some very densely populated areas such as Bangladesh and the coastal areas of India, and the entire weather cycles, be it monsoon or the trade winds, they can get disrupted in unpredictable ways. Melting of ice, Arctic, it's already been happening. Threat to flora and fauna, biodiversity. These are the major challenges because of climate change.
I see. How Jharkhand will be affected by this?
So Jharkhand, Jharkhand, although it's a plateau region, it has a substantial height, but heat waves have become very frequent in Jharkhand. So climate change, it has disrupted the rainfall pattern. Jharkhand has had back-to-back droughts, not last year, but years before that. And agriculture suffers. Jharkhand is dependent on rice. Rice is one of the major crops, and it is very water intensive. So climate change can disrupt the entire rice production of Jharkhand. Jharkhand itself is a contributor to climate change, I would say.
So what is this organic farming?
So organic farming is essentially a method of farming in which we try and reduce or limit the use of chemical and synthetic fertilizers. We use natural fertilizers like let's say cow dung or animal excreta or biofertilizers, and we aim to sustainably use groundwater, rainwater. It's a combination of various methods, organic farming, I would say.
Any state which is totally organic?
So Sikkim is India's first completely organic state.
Any other state where it is being propagated as?
So Himachal Pradesh has taken up a zero budget natural farming technique. It's close to organic farming. States of northeast India have very good potential, and also Western Ghat states which have Western Ghats are also very good for organic farming.
Okay, you were saying about the drought proneness.
Yes, sir.
And how many states in this country which are drought prone?
Sir, so I wouldn't be able to put a number on it, sir. So, but Western India, including Rajasthan, Gujarat, Vidarbha, Maharashtra.
But nowadays people are saying that it is flood prone. Every year there is flooding in Rajasthan, because in Badmer and Jaisalmer, and all these cities are flooded every year.
So, urban flooding does not essentially mean that the state is no more drought prone. Urban flooding is because of poor urban management, drainage, illegal construction of buildings, filling up of water, natural water sources. It does not mean that Rajasthan is completely out of the drought zone. Even Chennai had urban floods, though it was never flooded in history. Delhi, Mumbai are some other examples.
Right, Mr. Dipankar,
Yes, sir.
you are from Jharkhand.
Yes, sir.
Jharkhand was created out of Bihar.
Yes, sir.
Do you think this division has made any difference to the governance process of Jharkhand?
Yes, sir. So I would say there has been some improvement. Jharkhand has its GDP growth is good, per capita income, child mortality. In all these scores, we are slightly better than. In fact, in some of these, we are much better than Bihar.
You have
This
some
is all
figures
good.
to substantiate
Yes, sir.
that?
If
Okay,
it
need not
Yes, sir.
All right, since you have been a student of public administration also, you must have heard about public value theory.
Yes, sir.
What is this public value theory, and why did it emerge in the field of public administration?
The public value theory emerged as a reaction to the NPM movement we had been having for very long. The privatization movement essentially, and the backlash due to globalization, it became unsustainable after a while. So the public value theory wanted to.
In what way does it differ from the new public management and new public service theory?
Sir, the new public management aims at more centralized private units taking control of government facilities. New public service essentially by Robert B. Denhart is the propagator of new public service. He wanted to counter the ill effects of new public management. So it includes a democratic element into it. It instead of treating people as citizens, customers, it wants to treat people as citizens. Instead of treating people as.
And there is another theory that has emerged in the recent times. That is the new localism, theory of new localism.
Yes, sir.
What does it indicate, new localism?
So it essentially emerged in UK, in United Kingdom. It aimed at local governments, especially urban local government.
Is it a critique of decentralization?
No, so it wants to consolidate, as a matter of fact, improve local bodies, new localism. The functions which the higher units were performing must be delegated to the local units, because they, because of principle of subsidiarity, they are more suited to perform these functions.
Fine enough. Now let us come to some debates.
Yes, sir.
what have you to say on the issue of triple talaq?
So I think it is an abhorrent practice, but it should not be criminalized. It is essentially a civil offense.
No, if it is not criminalized, then Supreme Court has already given a verdict.
Yes, sir.
And after the verdict of the Supreme Court, you are aware that so many cases of triple talaq are still going on,
Yes, sir.
right?
Yes, sir.
So if there is no provision for punishment, who will observe that?
Sir, if the husband gives a triple talaq to the wife, that is not legally recognized by the law, even if he does it, because that whole section is, the whole practice is illegal ab initio. To put penal
This
punishment.
is what I am saying,
Yes,
that it
sir.
is not recognized even after the Supreme Court judgment. But despite that, the triple talaq is taking place. 400 odd cases are
So how can you deal with that?
So that would need grassroots level social reform, and the Islamic scholars or the ulema have to take cognizance of it.
So we should be, subjugate ourselves to ulemas.
Sir, it is.
The interest of the women, the interest of the people should be subjected and subjugated to ulemas.
So, but if we allow for imprisonment, that is essentially double jeopardy for the wife. She has been divorced and the husband is in prison.
Suppose I commit a murder, and I am imposed a penalty of life imprisonment.
Yes, sir.
Then what shall happen to my wife? It means I should never be punished, even if I committed a murder.
In any case, after he has divorced his wife, he will not look after her. So how does it matter whether he is in jail or elsewhere?
Sir, I cannot.
The issue of the construction of temple in Ayodhya is sub judice with Supreme Court.
Yes, sir.
If you are the Chief Justice of India,
Yes, sir.
what will be your judgment on that? Even if it is established that land earlier used to belong to that temple, there was a temple there.
Sir, I'll have to make all the stakeholders compromise a bit. The Hindus have to accept that demolishing the mosque was a mistake, and the Muslims have to accept that it's a spiritual matter and very important for Hindus. So a temple has to be constructed. Maybe close to that, a mosque, or not very far from that, a mosque needs to be constructed from the relics of old Babri Masjid. And both the communities need to accept that they have committed mistakes on their part. And even the government, it failed in handling the entire crisis. So unless everyone.
You are taking a very high moral ground, as if the people are, otherwise this problem would not have played at the country.
That way, High Court has already divided
If the
that land
stakeholders
into
would have
three
been able
parts.
to, if the stakeholders would have been able to reach a consensus,
It would have been
then
resolved.
the issue would not go to the Supreme Court.
So unless all the stakeholders are willing to accept some mistake on their part, this issue is irresolvable in my
But
opinion.
the issue has to be resolved. You can't scuttle out your responsibility as the Chief Justice of India or the executive head, the head of the country. What call you will take?
So I will take a call to construct a temple, but simultaneously I would express a desire that a mosque nearby should also be constructed.
Anyway.
So otherwise, yes.
Just a while back you said there is an overwhelming evidence in favor of the environmental concerns, especially and the most important environmental concern of the modern times is global warming.
Yes, sir.
President of United States Trump says that US is freezing and the temperature is further dipping. It is breaking all the records, and
Yes,
he is
sir.
mocking at phenomenon of global warming. How will you take on that?
So global warming does not mean rise in temperature of all the places simultaneously. It's an average temperature which needs to rise. So even if we have very cold temperatures somewhere, that can be compensated by a heat wave in say Australia. So once the average temperature rises, I'll have to present this scientific argument to him.
What is your scientific argument?
That average temperatures of the world are at a record high. The IPCC has claimed that even with all the INDCs, we cannot stop at 3-degree warming. So having a one-off case of
Then how will you explain such a severe winter in Delhi and in the northern parts of the country?
So I don't think it was the coldest winter in Delhi. There have been colder winters in Delhi, but if we look at the summers, then the intensity of summer has been increasing year on year. So it does not, if having a cold weather once in a while does not mean that the average temperatures are not rising.
Have you heard of Gaganyaan project?
Yes, sir. So it's a project to send astronauts into space.
No, what is unique about this project?
They'll be sending human astronauts into space using Indian spacecrafts, India-made spacecrafts.
That is the first time.
Yes, sir.
Coming back to public administration, my last question. What is neo-Weberian state in public administration?
So we had an earlier Weberian state. Neo-Weberian state, Pollitt and Bucart are two scholars which have given this idea. And so essentially it keeps the old idea of Weberian state, which means hierarchy, written communications, intact, and it infuses some ideas of private management into it, so as to make it more people friendly, involve citizens, involve civil society, different stakeholders. So it's actually a reformulation of the old Weberian idea itself.
Have you heard the word iron cage of rationality in the context of public administration?
Sir, yes, sir. I've heard of iron cage. It refers to the three private sector, the civil society, and
Iron cage of rationality, I am asking.
Oh yes, sir. So, I'm sorry, sir. So it simply means that Weber claims that his kind of administration is the most rational administration. So in this whole in the midst of this rational administration, all other voices are drowned out. That refers to iron cage of rationality.
Communicate right now? Okay.
Please wait outside.
Thank you, sir.
What you are